so go for it. Even if one or two guys did say to me, did you make the right decision to come for this one? And I said to them, no, I'm just here to push my limits. Yeah, there was a little bit of it, but my coach had said I should go for it. And psychologically, I was ready.
Still on you, maybe, what kept you going? Because the question then follows, it's Bokwana for the very first time, you have been in the industry for a short period. Where did you get that fitness, the consistency? What were you doing prior to join cycling? How was your lifestyle prior to that? Or on regularly, what do you do?
Okay, for the past, I think 16 years, I've been jogging. I've been doing roadworks. And then I decided, no man, let me try something new, because I never sat on a saddle. Let me just try something new, and I did. And ever since I made that decision, I have not looked back. Cycling is quite nicer. It's even nicer cycling in a team, because there are people who take you under their wings. They teach you, they mentor you, they guide you, they even prepare you psychologically, because sports it's one thing that you win in your mind most of the time. Yeah.
Chairman, I'm looking at what's taking place on the screen. I think in terms of COVID-19 regulations, I would see the distance between I think the distance was so far, in as much as maybe, but you can tell everything went accordingly. Any challenges along the lines to Love Misa, some of the things that happened that we're not expecting, just the journey itself, the ins and out?
I think everyone is quite aware of the prevailing situation and the current risk of the third wave. So I think personally we were just a bit on the extra cautious side. For everyone who was on the ride, we provided masks and buffs. So we did make sure that everyone is at least covered. We know that this is sport. You might want to get more air without the mask, but especially at stops, you keep your distance and just keep it safe and sanitize as much as you can. So we didn't encounter much issues or resistance from cyclists. They were willing to comply. I can't complain. Those who finished first early, I remember once we started, after passing Nisela, there were already people leaving. So because we said, as soon as you finish, there is no need to be socializing. We need to keep our distance. So finish, get your food in a takeaway box, then leave. So on that front, I think everything went well. We did get advice from the Ministry of Health in terms of those protocols to make sure that we are covered. So I think that part was good, with their support as well in terms of EMS and Swazi Medics. I think in terms of safety, everyone was covered. There was no rider who did not have a backup vehicle with them. Yes.
Chairman, a quick one or two before maybe I let you go on your side and on her side. Sorry, I'm thinking as a chairman of a club, Sekaya Club, you're also involved in the current interim committee of the association in the country. What would be your reaction to her performance? I mean, we've talked for many years that in our industry we do need ladies who can come and just apply themselves and hit the ground running. Now what she's done, I know we've got some of the good cyclists in the country, but it wasn't a competition, but she was an eye catcher to all the cyclists to say there is potential here. What's your reaction to her performance?
I must congratulate her. Actually, I did. Because we did get feedback from people who were riding with her that she actually rode very well, and we need to nurture her and make sure that the talent is exploited very well. I think from now on, going forward, I hope and believe that the ladies who did the ride, because we had ladies on both the 130 and the 100 as well as her on the 200, they were there. They've shown the world that we can do this as ladies. It's not supposed to be males only. So I believe that endurance is part of the sport. Yes, we need racing and everything else, but there are so many levels to cycling It's not only about the elite and winning those races. Just pushing your limits and understanding where you can go. Obviously, cycling comes as a health benefit. As you can see, I'm a bit leaner from the last time you saw me.
True, you're right.
So yeah, you do get those benefits as well.
But maybe one person is asking himself or herself to say, I missed the action. Is there anything coming up, maybe on your side as a club, and maybe from the association itself? Anything come apart from maybe this upcoming race over the weekend, but the event of this magnitude, a charity event of that magnitude?
As it stands now on the calendar, I think there's only 2 races. It's the one that you're going to be talking about, and then we have Swazi Frontier. I think it's also coming up. And then from then on, it's more of a pay-as-you-go situation, given that we look at what the current health status is and what's available, what we can do and what we cannot do. In terms of border to border, the date for the next one that is confirmed is 11 June 2022.
All right. You are part of the interim. You are working on the constitution, changing the constitution. How is it going? The country would love to know, when can we expect a new executive in office?
In terms of the work that was given to us, it's done. All that's needed now is verification by the affiliates, which are the clubs. That should happen on Wednesday at the George from 6 p.m. So clubs there will be sending their reps to go through all those comments that came through from the clubs and everyone else. And then from then on, we will know when the date for elections is going to be, because we were stalled by the constitution. So as the constitution is accepted, I think then the date will be set. Holding everything constant, it should be the following week, or maybe giving 2 weeks notice, and we should be hitting the ground running and get a proper executive in, and they can take the baton from there.
Prezi, a quick one. Yes. Everyone is asking him or herself, where to from here? You have introduced yourself to the industry. They want to see more of you. They want to know more of you. Where to from here? Where do you want to take cycling? Your cycling, where do you want to take it?
I've actually joined for just the fun of it and keeping fit. That's all. I'll continue to have fun.
So they can see you this coming weekend during the, Fast and Furious race organized by Forever Cycling Club. You haven't decided?
Yes, we are still talking about it with the principal. Yes.
They have it. The 2 officials, of course, who were part of the border-to-border event over the weekend, Mr. Mduduzi Kau, the chairman of Kuseka Cycling Club, together with the Prezi Twara. A good performance over the weekend. It was not a competition, but she did, she did steal everyone's attention during her 7 hours to Lavomis. Otherwise, it's going to be a short break. Thank you very much for the 2 guests for giving us all the information we needed. 2 quick short breaks pertaining to the ongoing Euro Championship, and I'll be joined by Linda Dlamini, where we'll be talking to Mr. Clinton from Forever Cycling Club through Zoom after the break.
On Sunday, telling the African story from an African perspective. This is the only news program bringing you news, views, and interviews straight from the countries where it happened. Join me in Ndishishi Hamfungu as I take you on a journey across Southern Africa. That's on Eye on SADC, news of SADC from SADC.
There have it. This is Eswatini TV. We're still live here from Hospital Hill, talking about events that were taking place over the weekend. We also have to jump to what is supposed to be taking place this coming weekend. Forever Cycling Club behind the big occasion this coming Saturday. But before I get to that, I'm already in the company of our in-house analyst, one and only Linda Dlamini.
Ngiyavusela Fabrice ngikuthola kakhulu ngivusele Malu Alvia sekhaya. I'm a happy man Fabrice, because there's a lot kuma sports lokwendekako successful tournaments labanjwako locally, so I'm a happy man.
Now we are being joined by two gentlemen from Forever Cycling Club. Talk about team principal Mr. Clinton McNamara and Tulani Kule, who are part of the organizers of this coming race. One is called Fast and Furious a race that will be also applying as a national championship. Already online, I'm joined by Mr. Clinton McNamara. What a good evening, Mr. Clinton.
Evening, Fabrice. Evening, viewers.
All right, Mr. Tulani Gule, are you there with us? Good evening.
Yes, please. Good evening, Fabrice. Good evening to all Swazi viewers.
All right. Mr. Clinton, maybe just for starters, we can look at this race itself. Just to give us the information of the race itself, the venue, and what is supposed to take place. And let's talk about this race itself. This coming Sunday, it's taking place, it's happening. The viewer is waiting to hear from you. What can we expect? Just quick brief breakdown.
Well, you can expect a fast and furious race. We are hosted at Mr. M.A. Dlamini M.A. Ranches' farm, which is 12 kilometers from the T-junction to Big Bend on the MR16. There are 5 races in total. The 150 kilometer, which is scheduled to be the Eswatini National Championship male. There is the 76 Women's National Championship and the 76 Youth and Junior National Championships. These events all start at 7 o'clock, 7:15, 7:30. Then we have a fun run, which is a 32-kilometer event, starting all at the same place. And for the kids, we'll have a 10 and a 5-kilometer race. The entry fees for the big one are 150 emalangeni. For the 76, it's 120. For the 32, it will be 100 emalangeni. And for the kids with their parents, all 30 emalangeni.
And maybe just this question, we'll quickly go to Mr. Tulani Gule. Gule, maybe just still on the background, why is it called Fast and Furious? Is it a first of its kind? Prior to this year, just to tell us about the competition itself.
Okay, thank you so much, Fabrice. Maybe to clarify to the viewers as well, it's called Fast and Furious because of the environment it's going to be in. I'm sure you are well versed that in the Lowveld, you're speaking of a relatively flat place. Yeah, there's no much hills as bad as Mbabane, you name it, Manzini. Probably Manzini is even better. It's like the Middelveld. So the Lowveld is relatively flat. The only hill you come across is just a headwind, whenever it happens. But obviously, it's a relatively flat place. That's why it's called the Fast and the Furious. And we're expecting basically the fastest time in all other events for the distance.
Quickly back to Mr. Clinton. I'm in a company of Mr. Dlamini, as you can hear. You heard it prior to the interviews that when you look at the race, you've decided to name it the National Championships. We know the magnitude and the importance and the meaning of a National Championships. Why Why did you decide to name it as the National Championships? And how will it benefit the cyclists for it being a national championship race?
Okay, thanks, Fabrice. Okay, first, let us give you the right name. It's the Forever Auto Value Fast and Furious. There's a race within a race. When the Mabuza family decided to sponsor this event, it was to sponsor forever. The Cycling Association thereupon came because we missed out last year's national championships, and they decided to veto the race as a national race. So there are two entities. There is the open version of the race, which anyone can enter and race. And there is the national event within the race, which is hosted and held by ECA, the Eswatini Cycling Association. So yes, it has the name and the value of the event by having the national event in it, but it is run as two events in one. So if we look at it, we look as the national championship will be won by the first Eswatini to cross the finish line in all three events. Its importance is, I do believe that we haven't had, due to the pandemic, we didn't have a opportunity to have a national champion 2020. Our last national champion and currently reigning is Nudu Shabangu and Denise Wilsh. And I do believe that there are upcoming youth. If you guys have seen our videos, there are a few young men that are out there to prove themselves. And that would help encourage them, knowing there's a race and that they will one day likely step into the shoes of Muzi and Morgan and our own Tulani Gule.
Of course, talking about Tulani Gula, that was actually the question Singashogutsi was next for him, the importance of the race. Looking at the issue of the international participation, Mr. Gule, how will this race be key? Since it's a national championship event, it means selection of international cyclists will be based from this competition. You know better than anyone how key the competition of this tournament. How is it going to be very competitive?
Thanks, Fabrice and Mr. Vernon Dlamini. I would say the key of this event, of the nature of this kind of an event, is that it's got a lot to do with our UCI, where most it's like a union for all cycling events globally. Probably it brings your name. Your time is going to say a lot about you. So if you look on the roads, cyclists really do the thing. It starts passionately, like Kaudi and Usekaya started socially. But now, if you look in the long run, you'll start seeing competitive cyclists out of that team. Same likewise in all other clubs. So it's a pretty interesting event which brings all clubs to come together to try and see who's the best. It's like it's the only moment whereby you know very well that you might not just shine only in the country, but it's going to give you a good ranking worldwide. Such that even if you go to a South African event, you can be recognized as a champion from Eswatini. So it's got a lot of weight in it. Yes.
Once again, Tulani, looking at this issue, I think it's better to ask you, because you also touched on the rankings, is that how is our standard currently when you talk about cycling? I mean, on countless occasions, I've had a chat with the the youngster, and what I've noted from these cyclists is that the exposure is not there. The standard, how is our standard now in cycling? I know there's COVID and everything. Have we gone where we're supposed to be? Are we dropping? Are we growing? What's happening with our industry?
Okay, Fabrice. I think I would just look into a situation like right now, hosting such an event during COVID times, and you see companies like Value Auto and all the other supporting companies which threw hands to make this event possible. not leaving out the cyclists themselves to commit and do the training. So looking into the standard of the sport, there's very much good room for growth. Yes, COVID has contributed all over the world into disturbing inflation and everything. But if you look into the sport with good support and with maximum participation, there's very much good room for growth. Because if yesterday you would be talking of Tulani Gule and all Bokalis Malinga and all these other champions, which are no longer on the podiums much because they are new ones. Yes, I'm happy that today we're talking of an event hosted by Forever Cycling, where most of the Manjaros, the old veteran cyclists, talking of the names of Morgan, Denise Welch, all these guys are supposed to be taken out by juniors. So like now we're speaking of this guys organizing an event like this. Yes, we can't cut off our champions from participating on the event. So they might also come to want to defend. But if you look into the long side of it, I'm very happy I can see a lot of participation of the juniors. Because as long as we don't have juniors, then the future becomes vivid. So right now, there's a lot of juniors involved. Forever has them. You go to Guseka, they have them. You go to Newcomb Wells. Newcomb Wells has been really contending for taking off the Manjaros, like mostly the Forever guys, off the podium finish. You'd find that number 2 and 3 looking into Steggy race last year. So I think there is good future for the sport, and probably I'm sure in the long run you're also going to be on a bike. That's you to come up.
If I tell you what I do for that, it's just spinning. Spinning classes are enough for me. Now, good one. Thank you very much, gentlemen. But saying goodbye, you've got 10 seconds, Mr. Clinton. To the cyclist message, quick one before we let you go.
What I'd like to say is first of all, is thank you to all those that have supported us, our sponsors and all the people that are involved. To our cyclists, we want them to come out, have a good time, enjoy the race, enjoy the route. There's a lot going on the day. And again, what Kaya Gusekaya did for all cyclists last weekend, we want to do it for us and the racers. We want to see the racers coming out and enjoying the route on the weekend. And to the future champions, we wish them luck, wish them well, and we thank you all for giving us the support.
Thank you very much. Expect me on a Sunday. I'll be there, of course, to give you full coverage to ensure that what you've said here is what is going to be applying on Sunday. And, of course, to ensure that, different cyclists also do express what they feel. Thank you very much for joining us, of course, and giving us those detailed information. And it will be a day to give you the coverage. And I report back on Monday here on Eswatini TV on Temidlalo. Thank you very much. Already in the company of Linda Lamin, cycling. Growth is on its take. Quick one before you go on. What have you noted from these two cycling clubs? Gusekaya, they had an event. You are getting to the weekend. Forever has an event. Quick one. What's your reaction, Master?
There's one thing I like about Yona is a cycling association, more especially ongelama tournaments. La dlala la ngaphasi kayo. Sikhuluma ngeKusekaya cycling labe bane border to border. In fact, it was in a race. Kubo it was just a ride. More especially hambisa kakhulu tekuvakasha la ekhaya because bahamba bangena ekhathi kaManzini for the first time because bahlale baphuma la celeni bahamba even nakule tindzawo takubovakasha bafika nale bonisela bafike bema la bekunisela khona. So ngicabanga ukuthi leyo be about touring Eswatini the 4 regions because Manzini, Libonjeni and Shiselweni onke lama regions bakhona ukuthi bawa coverage. Then kunale Forever Fast and Furious race lokuma national champs lengicabanga kakhulu kutaya ngalesikhathi we want to see young ladies a dominator yona cycling bakope kubo Danish Welsh ma legend legend of the game. So sikatsile kubona my young players, my young female cyclists aphakamisa sandla afuna kudominate.
They have it enough with cycling, of course, with what happened over the coming weekend. They are busy. Talking about people who are busy, Eswatini Olympic Commonwealth Games Association did, of course, reach to over, one would say, 10 to 15 sporting association today in a session that was held at mountain in, as we can see on your screen, handing over equipment for COVID-19, to protect themselves from this pandemic. One would say this equipment, Master, it's worth around 50,000 emaranges, sanitizers, masks, where 100 masks from each association. Then there's some sanitizers. And of course, the group of 4 people are seeing on the screens were part of that event, and associations were signing to take the equipment. These are the equipment, Master. What's your take on what you think happened? Helman Jele, of course, from the Swimming Association. It's a good initiative, Master.
A good initiative, Fabrice, ma associations. In fact, onge lama associations langaphasi kwe Olympics committee.
Tekball was there.
Batholile, including Tekball, athletics, swimming, onge lama sports lawo, bo athletics, onge atholile, Fabrice, even you, Eswatini TV, part of, including Ibola, Ibola itholile na because nabo bangaphasi kwa lenhlangano. So ngicabanga ukuthi idinvolate because incumbela associations atsinzekile vele ngenzaba COVID. So lokuthi banika le equipment yekuzama kulwa ne COVID ngicabanga ukuthi idinvolate. In fact, ngiyayithanda le committee lengenile lapha kasoka nyalo ka iyoga enyalo lelasalidwa nguye Maxwell Jilo sesengisi CEO because usebambile bang CEO yaphinza beng vice president. Ngiyayithanda because at the moment kuyabonakala lo sicha lo mshanyelo lomusha cishe ngathi uyashanyela kahle.
Sengacala ku point fingers ukuthi yini ngathi kunemafanzi lesingayabone, but kwanyala sekuhamba kahle. No, and I think Mr. Cherry is a man, is a clear, I mean, he knows these things are happening. People will point fingers at some point, but so far they are working clearly together with Mr. Adam Tsetwa, former Football Association president.
Yeah, well, that's what you get from seasoned administrators. Leader by example, even kusebenzisa an experience. So ngicabanga nje ukuthi dinvele tinhle leti lesikhathi ukuthi sitibone vele as emalanga chubeka phinze lala associations afakele lokuncane bakhona ukuchuba inhlelo tabo.
Now, there you have it. Beneficiaries during the event include the likes of Athletic Association, where Toba Mazibuk, of course, were one of the people to express their gratitude to the Olympic movement. Take a look at this.
Small Sporting Association for the Policy Story, the Olympic Committee. Ngiyacabanga ukuthi sita kakhulu as vele COVID is really ihlasele, so ukuthi basiningete this donation ukuthi asita kakhulu ukuthi minimize at the same time sichubeke enjoy la ama sports leswathandzako, so sibonga kakhulu akwenzela abathethe khona.
So we received a special grant, particularly that has to do with realizing the current situation right now, which is COVID. So as we are all aware that all over the world has been going through national lockdowns, including our very own country here, where we've had a series of lockdowns which have affected the sporting industry and the activities that the associations are undertaking.
First of all, we want to thank IOCA, our National Olympic Committee, for this great initiative. We appreciate we are all facing challenges. I'm sure they're also facing COVID-19 challenges. But amidst all this, they were able to think of the federations, which we really appreciate. This will go a long way towards ensuring that we have activities going on, even though we have this COVID challenges. At least we now have the tools to combat the COVID. So yeah, we really appreciate, I'm sure it's the same even for the other federations. They also appreciate the great gesture. Sanitizers, they don't come cheap. Even the face masks, they don't come cheap. So having them on our side, we'll be able to give them to the athletes and our officials. As you saw, we have masks for both adults and also the youngsters. So yeah, we really appreciate outside.
That was the much kind gesture done by the Olympic movement in their plans of assisting associations to get back to play, get back to action. Talking about get back to actions, some of the associations already are into action. Over the weekend, a shooting association hosted a back to shooting tournament down there at Nogwane at Army headquarters, where different clubs were in their numbers. I would want us first to listen to the reactions from different shooters, those who attended the event, what they say. And when we come back, and me and Dlamini will just talk about how is the sport growing in the country. Shooting association at Nogwane. Listen to this first.
Daba ngalendlela lebengayo namuhla sinayo i-team UEDF, team reps, team CPE yase Central Bank, se big band na lamanye nje la khona lambalwa. So i-attendance ibe inhle kakhulu. Isita kakhulu ukucecesha likhono lethu because bese sinesikhathi lesithe vele singadlali side umdlalo, so indubulo likhono lekusenza sithatha ibhamtato tabuya tata udlala. We hoping ukuthi sidaba naye 3 to 4 games kulamalanga letako. Sinaye CPE, sinayo i-UEDF Cup, sinayo i-Reps Cup, kumbe sponsor sethu lesinye ngiletheko siyathemba usinayo utawushow up.
Okay, so one of the things is that I know Nelly Dlamini from the border, and she introduced me to this sport, and from my point, I do believe that if you get involved in the community overall, not just by selling and marketing, but also long-term, you get involved with the community, it helps to build the relationship with the community and then also make sure that, you can support the community this way.
Looking at Gutsi Besingadlali for a long time because of the COVID and Nanani, giving us exposure to this game again, getting a chance to play. We have to see that because it get us back to the game. We're back to the game again.
Siyabonga kakhulu, siyajabulela ukuthi sikhona la lamhla ngudobukela umcimbi lana wekudubula. Si Olympic movement siyathola kakhulu nalokuthi nje kubabambisa baka shooting kulesicelo labasifaka eoffice. Lesicelo lesi ke ngifisa kuveta lokuthi lesi sithethe ku special grant lesaniketwa iAnoka yona ye return to play sport ngalokuthi sitokhumula sonke ukuthi sisasekuwo le situation lesikuyo yabo COVID emhlaba wonke jikelele. Siyajabula ke nanathi ukuthi khona even sisakhona lokudlala imidlalo lefana njengalena lesingabacucutela kuko nje sengiphathisana kuye president nelibandla lakhe la shooting kungukuthi kulenyanga letako live litobe liyo participate kuma Olympic Games eTokyo eJapan. Kusifiso sethu ke nalokuthi baka shooting bagcine bahambe nelizinga selifike eTulu ngangekuthi nanabo bangalimelela live.
Sisibonga ukuthi lo mdlalo sesiwubonile emahlandla wendeka lokusho ukuthi vele lelizinga lotanga lolizinga lelikhomba ukuthi uyathuthuka sibili. Silitiko nje singulumende sithanza kubonga kakhulu kuma sponsors labo labafaka tandla ngoba ngaphandle kwabo lo mdlalo kude la uyakhona nabakhweshile kusho kufa kwawo. So lokusibona ungathi uyandlondlobala kusho kona ukuthi kungilamandla labawafakako bekukucela nje ukuthi lokhu labakucalile bangakuyekeli bachubeke nako kuze ukuthi lo mdlalo ukhona emdlondlobala.
The latest person to speak, of course, is the Undersecretary in the Ministry of Sport, Mr. Nhlanhla Motsa. He was following Mr. Maxwell Jerry, the EOCGA, acting CEO. Master, as we look at the pictures, I want to get to the bigger picture. The sport is growing. There's no discussion about that. But Misel, in terms of making sure that the tournaments are successful and performance-wise, this is the players in action, Master. What's your reaction to the sport? Quick.
Yes, Fabrice, weekend njengoba sesibona tithombe ukuthi bekubanjwe i-tournament yaka-shooting lebe sponsored by ngiyo i-yoga. Lengicabanga ukuthi that's a good nakhoza again initiative again and sibonile ukuthi netindubulo betiphume ngetinkani ngetinombolo tato. Ngicabanga ukuthi this tournament for them vele bayasite kakhulu because kuseta lamanye ama-tournaments letako latawudlalwa. So ngicabanga ukuthi uyayibona ukuthi yes bake bahlala vele bangadubuli kodwa ngicabanga ukuthi ayikho le level phasi kakhulu.
The level is not quite down. Beautiful pictures, of course, from Nogwane. Now, another sporting court that was active over the weekend, basketball, 3-on-3 at the Coronation Park, Dlamini. We took a visit there. In action. Talk about the young boys, young girls. They are excited. They are back into action. But when you talk about their bigger picture, it's December.
Yeah, Fabrice, I'm excited. Nangibuka these youngsters ngalendlela lati misela ngayo kudlala basketball. And for them, Fabrice, akusiko, it's not about lokudlala nje. Lawa ama games ekulungiselela ema games letako at December. So ngicabanga ukuthi le 3-on-3 kulungisa nje kakhulu because one siyakhumbula ukuthi basketball isanza kuvunyelwa kubuya idlale. Unfortunately iphinze level Eswatini hulumende wamemetela ukuthi kubuyela ku level 2. So le 3-on-3 for them ngicabanga ukuthi itabasita because ite yona lokuthi kudlala abantu labanenge lokuthi sekutawuthenziwana kakhulu. Ngicabanga nje ukuthi this a good thing ukuthi kulungiselela lama games letako nga December ema international games.
And of course these young boys and girls of course are in action, preparations for the December games. Thank you very much, Dlamini. We have to do a quick substitution. Incoming is your deputy. When I talk about deputies, that amongst the people we respect here in the studio as analysts, there is Linda Dlamini, and then there's the main coach Zwagele Smelane. They have things in common. Any sporting coach, throw to them, they will respond. Incoming is Zwagele Smelane. So we have all things covered here. We want to test his knowledge when it comes to European Championship. Up next, he's in the studio, and Master, he has to go home. He has things to prepare. Tomorrow is the big match, Germany and France, live here on Eswatini TV. He's going to be in the studio. After the break, Umguni Utabasela is studio.
Siyasebenza impela.